coming to get you, Barbara. They're coming for you, Barbara. Look, there comes one of them now.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Movie Breakdown. That is right, your ears are not deceiving you. Right here in 2025, there's actually a new episode of the Movie Breakdown, and I am your host, Christopher Spicer. And I owe you a huge apology, because the last time you had an episode of the Movie Breakdown, it was way back in July, and that is when I announced that my wonderful co-host, Scott Martin, was going to be taking an indefinite leave of absence, a hiatus from the Movie Breakdown. But I had promised that I would continue. I would keep on doing the Movie Breakdown with solo episodes. And the evidence points to, I didn't do that at all. I failed. But if you're also a reader of Beyond the Balcony, I know not all of you are. I have readers, I have listeners, and they don't always intersect. But you would know I didn't do a great job of writing reviews or writing articles on Beyond the Balcony for a lot of 2025. And on top of that, my career didn't do great. It was doing all right in the summer, and it really struggled when it comes to sort of having things out there for a byline for you to read. And I am not someone who just wants to keep on peddling out the excuses. I have talked about my mental health in the past, but the reality is at the end of the summer, it took a huge dive. One of those reasons is we had a mass flooding in our basement, and not only did that mean the entire basement had to be torn up, but it destroyed a lot of family memories and memories of my children in their younger years. And that, when I'm already kind of really fragile when it came to mental health, it really sort of knocked me down. And then it meant that I wasn't doing the best with my work, which meant I lost some clients and things started drying up, and that really led my mental health in a bad spot. And so I really had to take a serious decision. I really had to sort of confront this at the end of 2024, because I knew that this was doing some serious harm to my relationships, but also serious harm to myself. And so I went to my doctor, I saw a psychiatrist, and basically I was diagnosed with depression, which was not a big shock, but my doctor thought that there may be some other triggers that was leading to my depression, and so I was tested, and I've now been diagnosed as neurodivergent. At 47 years old, I am realizing that my whole life I've been neurodivergent, and that's why maybe certain things have been more challenging to me through the years, maybe why I'm learning why my brain sort of works differently than other people. That was some answers. And so I have ADHD, I am autistic, or at least on the spectrum. And so those are some big discoveries, which is sort of a relief in some ways, but it's because now I have some answers for certain things, but now it's sort of trying to figure out, what does this mean, who I am, what are the strategies of going forward. I am also taking medication for ADHD and also for my depression. I am seeing a cognitive behavioral therapist, CBT, who is going to be giving me strategies of working through not just my ADHD, but also my depression, and hopefully making 2025 a much more successful year where I can be a better husband, a better father, a better friend, a better person, a better creator, a better writer, getting my career back on track. But one of the things that's really important to me is the creative outlet. So I mean, my first focus really does need to be getting my career back in place, landing clients again. Currently, I am writing for a site called MovieWeb, but it really doesn't pay a lot. It's more of an exposure-based position. So I need to start getting the work that is a bit more reliable, which tends to be sort of ad copy and working for different clients and doing the advertising for them and doing the marketing for them and doing the social media. But I would love to also land some more bylines this year, different publications. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you could have a podcast for a while. I'm stumbling over my words. But I also realize how important it is for me and my mental health to be creative and to create. And so even though Beyond the Balcony and the movie Breakdown is nowhere near being able to see as a part of my career, nowhere near making any type of money basically from it. At this point, it is right now more of sort of a calling card. It's sort of a way of landing other work. It's something where I can show people the stuff I've done on the site, the stuff I do on the podcast, and it could potentially lead other work, showing sort of my talents in that way. But I do want to expand. I do want this to become something that can become a major part of my career and something that I can make money from and possibly a living for, so I could create more and do some great things and kind of do more deep dives and create stuff that entertains people and gives people sort of inspiration, but maybe a little bit of light in their life every day, and a way to champion great art. And I also want to continue to tell stories, which is an aspect I want to use Beyond the Balcony for. And so I've got a lot of big plans. And so all that to say, I plan on this year being far more active on Beyond the Balcony, writing articles as much as I can on a daily basis. I realize we are halfway through January already, and I've only written like 5 pieces, but try to pace myself, try to feel like I getting back into control of things, and the plan is to start going back to being daily on that and making the movie Breakdown a weekly thing again. And for now, as I'm sort of just kind of trying to get things back into routine and creating things again, it's likely going to be solo for the first several weeks, potentially the next several months, maybe the first half of the year. It will likely be solo. And if Scott is not able to return anytime soon, if he has to continue to be on hiatus, I will be looking into getting a rotation of guest reviewers and guest hosts to join me on this podcast. I've reached out to a few people. Some people have reached out to me. And so that is something that once I feel like I've got a grasp of the podcast again, I will bring in guests, because I think that's important, because the vision of this podcast has always been discussion. And I can't really discuss myself. I do talk to myself, but I don't know how entertaining that will be for you people. So I don't feel, since, I have my opinions and my alter ego has the same opinions because it's me, that's probably not going to be overly entertaining for you, or at least it's not going to give you different insights. So the long-term goal is to either get guest hosts, or the ideal would be for Scott to return. But for now, it's solo, and hopefully that remains entertaining. I would love your feedback, even if it is, no, you really need to get a second host as far as possible, as quickly as possible, because we don't want to just hear you. We need someone who's actually entertaining. I do want to also mention, before we get into the show proper, when I talk about creativity, and 2024 is not all just a complete disaster. There were positives, and one of the big positives was the opportunity to perform on stage with my family and being able to bond with them, and having some shows that were great for my mental health, and getting some great responses from the audiences, and finding a new creative outlet. I have the podcasting, I have the writing, I have the storytelling, and it was great to find another form of creativity that I love, and that was performing and acting. We did several shows with Playful Fox way back in December at the wonderful, iconic, historic Saracen Center. We performed Beauty and the Beast, and then we did Anastasia, where Danica was little Anastasia. Everett played the brother of Anastasia. And then the really big one for me was Lion the Witch of the Wardrobe in the summer, where I played Mr. Beaver alongside Emily, who played Mrs. Beaver. The kids played our children. And it was just awesome to see the great chemistry I had with my wife and what a great team we were. We were sort of the comic relief in some ways, but we also were a big kind of the heart of that show. And it was awesome to get the audience responses, but just to realize that me and Emily make a great team on that stage. And it was a definite highlight of the year for me. And then I ended the year with James the Giant Peach, where I was Aunt Spiker and Earthworm. But the best part of that show was Everett was in the lead role as James. And I'm just one proud dad. He nailed it. He was absolutely amazing. He just really kept that entire show together. He brought the spirit, the heart, the energy of that show there. He was an amazing lead. Of course, I'm biased, but that was just such a great moment for me. And as we go into 2025, I do write about all these experiences on Beyond the Balcony. Every show has had sort of a reflection, so you can read about those more in depth on the site. And going forward, I do have Murder on the Orient Express, which will be coming out very soon. Actually, the upcoming weekend is going to be the first show run in Fergus. So if you're in the Southern Ontario area, you can get tickets and check out Murder on the Orient Express. And then I will have Music Man, which is the return of the whole Spicer clan in that one. And so that'll be great. And that's in May. And that's with a new company called Community on Stage. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity. But this is the movie breakdown. And we're going to talk movies. And as what we are normally supposed to do, even though we're quite a bit now in, it's way past intro time. But this is a part where I just want to do a little shout out to Spreaker Prime, who is our hosting provider. And they've got a lot of great podcasts that you can check out on there from different subjects and from just different types of hosts and different types of shows. And we are so honored to be part of that team. And as well as since day one, we have been on my humble little site, Beyond the Balcony, where you can also read the things I've written. Like I said, I do have some new stuff up for 2025 that you can check out. Also detailing all my recent theater career that you can check out. And we would also love it. One way that you can really help the movie breakdown is to listen to us on the Spreaker app. And that allows for maybe a little bit extra money coming my way. Of course, no money comes our way unless there's a large amount of listeners. But if you do it through the Spreaker app, that helps out the show. It allows us to grow, and if I grow, then there's more things I can do. And my ideal would be to actually be able to pay my guest hosts if I'm in a spot to do that, which I most definitely am not right now, since I'm not making any money. I can't really pay my guest hosts either, but that would definitely help out the show a lot. Now, like I said, I want to get back to making the movie breakdown a weekly thing. And if you're a long-time listener, I'm talking all the way back to 2013, you know that for over 10 years, that's what we were. We were a weekly show. Me and Scott always debating and discussing movies. And that's just not been the case in the last 2 years, but because of many reasons, and a lot of it was struggling with mental health, that we were not a weekly show. But that's what we were for over a decade. And during that period when we were consistently doing shows every week, we always had a best of show, a worst of show, and in the last few years, we also had our underrated show where we're trying to champion the movies that either many people didn't watch or movies that sort of had a poor critical consensus that we thought were better than their reputation. But I always loved the best of show because you really get to discuss those great movies. And we didn't do one last year because we decided we hadn't seen enough movies. And I definitely did not see enough movies this year as I started secluding myself the last few months. And so I can't do another best of show. But the plan is definitely to do a best of show in 2025. Get this podcast going right. Get back to reviewing movies. But I do want to quickly reflect upon some of the movies that I did see in 2025 as kind of a mini look at sort of what I thought were some of the best things from 2024. Not 2025. I just wanted to kind of reflect upon what were the highlights. And even though I did not see enough movies to do a best of show, I definitely know that there's a few movies that would have still made my best of list for sure. And the one guarantee, gave it 4 stars. I did review it on this podcast early in the year, Dune Part 2. I love the first Dune, but this sequel was just so epic, so sweeping. Everything it did well in the first one was done even better in this sequel. I love how it went about exploring the Messiah, the chosen one, and challenging that concept. So we really have someone who is that we see as the leader, especially in modern times when we are so tribalistic, we're so divided politically, and there is this idea of we need someone to lead us out of this challenge. It's challenging the idea of elevating someone to that Messiah level. What happens when you have that hero worship, and what can happen, how that can corrupt someone when they're put in that position. It was just a very interesting picture in that I love the idea that I was exploring these complex themes while still being a big, sweeping, epic, a sci-fi adventure movie. I love pictures that are not afraid to look at social issues, use the fantasy to look at modern times, but still being just a sweeping, exciting adventure. And that is 100% what Dune Part 2 was. It would have easily been on my best of list. I'm a huge fan of Denis Villeneuve. I am looking forward to Dune 3, and he's a director that just continues to deliver, and some of his movies in the past have been in my best of the year. Another movie that would have definitely been on my best of list if I made one, because I just don't think there would have been 8 movies that could have knocked it out of the list because I loved it that much. It's Inside Out 2. It was a sign that when people started saying that Pixar lost its steam, Pixar is not what it used to be, Inside Out 2 says, no, that's not correct. It can still deliver amazing movies. And Inside Out 2, I love the first Inside Out, but Inside Out 2 did a great job of showing sort of what those emotions and the new emotions that could come when you become a teenager. It was a great look at sort of puberty and the challenges of growing up and what happens when you're moving past your friends and when sort of acceptance from your peers becomes more important than your parents. And I thought that was a great exploration. The first movie was great in how it showed that sometimes you need sadness in your life to appreciate joy more. And I like how this picture looked at the fact that anxiety is not always bad. Sometimes we need anxiety in our life, but it's finding that balance. And that's definitely something I've learned this year with mental health. It's finding the balance. The balance is the big thing. It's not that all negativity is bad. It's not that all anxiety is bad. It's not that you shouldn't be sad sometimes. It's finding that balance and not letting one emotion control you so much. And I thought Inside Out 2 did that great. It has a fun adventure in her mind again. Lots of great jokes. The new characters were colorful. I just thought it was such a fantastic picture. And that was the other one I gave 4 stars to. And I sadly did not review that one. A movie I did review, but I just want to bring it up again because I feel like it sort of got lost in the talk and people focus more on the fact that it didn't make the money that was expected. But The Fall Guy, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, they were fantastic. They had great chemistry together. I love the mix of comedy, romance, adventure, incredible stunts. This just felt like the type of movies that we don't get enough of anymore. It was just great fun. This is one that wasn't necessarily trying to tackle complex themes. It was just trying to be a great, funny, romantic action picture. And I thought it nailed all that. And I really enjoyed it. Another picture I did review, but I was also a big fan of, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And this is one, I've enjoyed the whole Planet of the Apes series. I love the apes. But what I love about this series is how the fact that these talking apes are used in a way to show a reflection on current society, and it challenges religion, it challenges politics. And the interesting in this one is showing how the legacy of Caesar, the message of Caesar, gets distorted and changed with different groups. And I think that is so fascinating because it's something that truly happens in real life. This idea that you have one person who had a message, but it either gets distorted or it's perceived differently in different groups. Different groups will take the same person, his same message, but make it further their own means. They will take it their own way. And that's really what King of the Planet of the Apes is about. It's how there's all these different factions and they all view the legacy of Caesar differently. But on top of that, it's just incredible special effects, great action sequences, a compelling story, and I'm really interested in this series going forward. As people know, I haven't been as hot on Marvel the last few years, but I felt Deadpool and Wolverine was a great return. This is another one that I did not review, but I gave 3.5 stars to. And I just thought it, again, was a great mix of comedy and action. It definitely was a little self-deprecating, making a little bit of fun of the current state of Marvel and the multiverse, but it also was a nice kind of love letter to the old Fox characters, a bunch of cameos, a bunch of characters returned. I enjoyed all that mix. And then Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are apparently best friends in real life, and that meant you had some great chemistry on the screen there. I thought they were great together, and it just led to what I thought was one of the most fun summer movies in the last several years. I thought it was blockbuster done right. The movie doesn't seem overly connected to the rest of Marvel, so I wouldn't necessarily say that this was like a revitalization, or that it even got me in a spot where I feel like, oh, well, Marvel's back on track. This movie was great, and we'll see what the future leads. Another movie that I want to mention that I also did not review last year, and that was Longlegs by Osgood Perkins, which is kind of a horror thriller. Some people sort of tied it to sort of a Silence of the Lambs type movie. Maika Monroe, who is someone who me and Scott have championed many times on this podcast, is in the lead role. And I thought she was fantastic. I guess she would be kind of the Jodie Foster character. And she seemed to be playing an autistic character, which obviously connects to me a bit more now. I like the little nuances she did, the nervousness, how she feels uncomfortable in her skin, uncomfortable in this world, but focused in trying to find this serial killer who's played by Nicolas Cage, who longtime listeners know I love Nicolas Cage. I think he's fantastic. And he plays a really creepy, really bizarre villain here. I thought he was fantastic. I was all in on the atmosphere, the pacing, the characters, the mystery, the twists and turns. It ends up being a 3.5 instead of a 4 because I thought the ending was disappointing. It fell flat on me, but getting there was quite a ride. And another picture that was like that, another 3.5, where I loved everything until the very end, was Love Lies Bleeding, which I just thought was an interesting thriller. And Kristen Stewart is someone who also I've championed on the show. She's moved way past the Twilight days. She has proven to be a very engaging and exciting actor who just takes on many challenging roles. And she's great here as Lou. It's a bit of a dark love story as she has a romance here with Katie O'Brien. And Katie O'Brien, I think this is the first time I've seen her, and she's just great as this woman obsessed with becoming a bodybuilder, stuck in this small town, and how she starts this relationship with Kristen Stewart, but the challenges that brings as Kristen Stewart's tied to this really seedy criminal type figure, her father. And Ed Harris is great as this creepy kind of villain. Dave Franco also plays a scumbag, but she does a great job. Jenna Malone is someone who I've always been a big fan of. She plays a great role here as Kristen Stewart's sister who's in an abusive relationship. This is a neon-soaked picture, a movie set in the 80s that feels... It's bright and colorful in some ways, but also just scummy and dirty in other ways. And it is a very engaging picture, a very confident picture. And it's gory and it's bloody in a lot of ways, so I would challenge you in that part. But it is something unique, something different. And I'm kind of bummed that it was only in theaters for like 1 week here in Brantford. I would have loved for the opportunity for more people to catch it, because we need more movies like this. We need to support movies like this, something that's different and exciting. Anna Brzezinski also should be pointed out. She plays sort of a former lover, one-night stand type character of Kristen Stewart, someone who is definitely hooked on drugs, an addict, and in some ways she becomes a little bit of an antagonist because she's opposed to sort of this new relationship, and she's got a very challenging role. Just great performances across the board, and it's kind of sad it's still not being talked about. I don't think there's any kind of Oscar talk. Maybe it's too small of a movie, but check it out, especially if you like sort of darker thrillers, dramatic thrillers. And I did mention how I was hooked to this movie until the very end. The end makes a decision that doesn't totally work for me, but I still think it's a great movie. It gave 3.5, and for those who are new, I rate my movies out of 4 stars. Long-time readers would know that, so 3.5 is a very good score, of course. Looking at sort of more of this past year, like I said, I didn't really see a whole lot of movies, but I just want to quickly... Actually, before I move, I also just want to mention I did review this movie, and it made a whole bunch of worst of lists, but I recommended it. I give it 3 stars, and I'm going to own up to it, and that's Argyle. I had fun. I like Matthew Vaughn. I like Sam Rockwell. I like Bryce Dallas Howard. Obviously, you don't come see this movie if you want to see Henry Cavill or John Cena. They have very small roles. It is overly long. It's not a perfect movie, but I liked a lot of the action sequences. I like the sense of humor. I like the chemistry between the 2 leads. And I just thought it was a really fun movie. It doesn't hold up to scrutiny when it comes to realism, but it wasn't supposed to be that. It's a fantasy picture. And I felt little bits of callback to Romancing the Stone, which is one of my favorite movies. And so I have a soft spot for sort of those comedy, romance, action-adventure movies. I like the different locales. Again, it's not a perfect movie, but I think it's way better than its current critical reputation. So I thought I should bring that up too. But looking at 2024, let's just see some of the quick lessons we can learn. Looking here at sort of the box office, as pundits predicted certain things of the future of cinema, and what is obvious from looking here at the box office. One is, it was probably a year ago where people were saying, oh, the Disney Plus kill their animated movies. Is this the end of Pixar being able to be a draw? And Inside Out 2 proved that's very much not the case. As this is the highest grossing movie of the year. It's the number 1 grossing movie domestically, Inside Out 2. So clearly, Pixar is fine, and animated movies are very much still a draw in theaters, and streaming has not taken away their magic. And both Disney animated movies really were huge successes this year. Inside Out 2 the number 1 spot, and in the number 4 spot you got Moana 2, which delivered. So their animated movies were not harmed in any way by Disney Plus, or they've recovered now and they're drawing people out. I also want to look at, so you've got Inside Out 2, you've got Wicked, which was the number 3 highest grossing movie. You got Moana 2 as a number 4 highest grossing movie. And what those successes show to me is the importance of not just focusing on one demographic. There seems to be, like, for the longest time, you're looking for the comic book crowd, or you felt that sort of boys, males in their teens and their early 20s. That is who they want to focus on. That is who they want to try to get into the box office. And it has been proven the importance of, I think, not just focusing on one type of genre or one type of demographic, because if you do create pictures that are going to connect with other groups, other demographics, they are going to come out. And so, I mean, Moana 2 and Wicked are both musicals. And they still in marketing try to hide the fact that certain movies are musicals. And Wicked and Moana 2 have obviously proven that, I mean, not every musical is a massive hit, but it is proven that there is a group that's looking for those type of movies, and they will come out to the theater. And so it's showing the importance of sort of having different types of movies. And I think that is a great sign. Of course, you had Barbie in previous year. That was a big, massive hit, showing, women come out to movies. Or, I mean, it's not just women. I came out to see all those movies too. It's just people who like something more than just comic book movies or big action pictures. And having female leads is not scary and doesn't hurt the box office. Just like Black Panther proved many years ago that having a black lead does not hurt the box office. It doesn't all have to be straight white males in the lead role. Diversity is a good thing. Of course, Deadpool and Wolverine shows that comic book fatigue doesn't mean that people won't come out and see any comic book movie. It means they're just getting a little bit pickier, and they have to have certain draws. And obviously, Deadpool and Wolverine together was a massive draw. It's also a well-regarded movie, and so it showed its success. We just got to kind of focus on that quality when it comes to comic book movies. This was also a year that really kind of showed that nostalgia has a place for sure. Beetlejuice, number 6 highest grossing movie. Twisters, the number 8th highest grossing movie. Bad Boys, Ride or Die. Now, it had a more recent sequel, but still the 12th highest grossing movie. Gladiator 2, the 14th highest grossing movie. So, we can expect a lot more movies from the 1980s, I think. Obviously, Gladiator was from the 2000s, but this idea of sequels to older beloved pictures are definitely delivering. But I don't think nostalgia alone is what brings out people. It has to be stories that people are interested in being to see continued. It has to be stories that have characters that people want to see again. And so I think it's going to be a very interesting ground to take. I mean, there's not a lot of older movies that I necessarily want sequels to. I mean, I love Romancing the Stone. I've mentioned it many times on this show, but I don't think I necessarily need to see Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas coming again in another jungle adventure. I have those movies. I can rewatch them. Obviously, Ghostbusters didn't deliver as well this year as the 20th highest grossing movie. Still did okay, but it's also showing that there's only so many returns that you can get from these movies. I also want to point out, of course, so many big successful anime movies, but the cool thing is there was an original anime movie that just fell out of the top 10 in The Wild Robot it was in the 17th spot, so it was a bit away from the top 10, but it definitely shows that not every anime movie needs to be part of an established series. And it also shows that anime movies are willing to be a bit more challenging emotionally. I mean, Inside Out 2 was challenging emotionally. And then The Wild Robot really delved into some interesting themes about parenting and loss. And it ended up being a massive hit. And so that is a great thing. Another thing I want to sort of mention is it's sad that Hollywood keeps on going back to series and established franchises and IPs, but there's a few pictures that now they're based off, like certain movies may be based off books or whatever, but movies that aren't your traditional big blockbuster did have success this year. The Blake Lively starring It Ends With Us. I know it's part of a popular book, but the 16th Spot, a picture that's going to be targeted. Definitely, it's a romance, well, not even romance, because it's about an abusive relationship, but it's something that looks at love, it looks at relationships, even if they are toxic. There is that a healthy romance in it as well. And it is very much a drama, and it's a picture that I think nowadays a lot of people would say, oh, that should go to streaming. Maybe it should be a mini-series. Maybe it should be a streaming movie. And it showed that there's a place for some of these movies and stories that we've now said, oh, that's kind of for streaming now. It's not going to draw people out because it's not a comic book movie. It's not a big action picture. And they can still do well. And that's why It Ends With Us, I think, is a big success. It shows the importance that diversity, different type of stories can be successful. And now I know Red won. It's the 23rd highest grossing movie, and it's largely considered kind of a flop, but that's because its budget was so huge. If its budget wasn't big, if they actually kept that in control, you can look at a potential hit. This is a movie that's a completely original idea that grossed almost $100 million. And so, to me, that shows there is a place for original ideas. Now, this one, obviously, there's Santa, and it has Dwayne Johnson. So I think the big thing is, I don't think studios need to 100% rely on IPs or established characters and franchises, but you need to have something recognizable. I think the big tip to a hit is the marketing needs to show something that people can understand or connect to. And obviously Santa is something that people understood to. Dwayne Johnson means you know the type of movie it's going to be. And so it did well in the box office, and it would have been a hit if its budget wasn't ridiculous, which it shouldn't be for something that is not as established. A Civil War, a smaller picture that maybe wasn't quite the hit that the studio was hoping for, but I mean, it made $68 million as sort of like an independent movie, an A24 movie. I think that should still be considered a win in a lot of ways. And so, again, it's showing the sign that there is potential of kind of these original ideas. I mean, it is kind of depressing looking through this list, and there isn't really a lot of super original ideas. But there's little moments of glimmer that show to me that different type of movies do have a place, and they do have a chance for success. Now, speaking of looking ahead to 2025, I want to now look at my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2025. These are the movies that I am the most excited to see this year. These are the ones that I think have a great chance of being a lot of fun and maybe being on my best of list at the end of the year. Will they all make my best of? Probably not. There's a good chance some of these will disappoint. But right now, these are the ones I'm the most optimistic about. And if we want to talk about optimism, if we want to talk about a series that's got a good friend, a good sort of record, a success rate, then we have to talk about Paddington in Peru, because that's my number 10. Because the first two Paddington movies were absolutely delightful. They looked like a children's book come to life, a candy-coated adventure. And why the first two movies were so wonderful is the fact that they are charming and they are good-spirited, they're positive, they've got a good heart, and there's just a whimsy to them, and you just come out of those movies floating and feeling good about yourself. And look at the state of the world, looking at social media and the mess and the division. We need more things like Paddington. Paddington just is soaked in positivity and love, and it's just such a good-hearted series, and you just cannot leave those movies just feeling wonderful. Paddington 2, the year it came out, was Scott's number one movie of the year. It's his favorite movie, and there's just no... I mean, to me, yeah, I mean, it didn't make my number one movie of that year, but they're beautiful movies. They're wonderful movies. And this one, they're now going to Peru, and you'll look at it, and the visuals look great based off the trailer. Some fun locations. It's a new adventure. They're trying to tell a very different story, I think, from the previous two. And I am totally set of following Paddington on this adventure again. It's a new director, Douglas Wilson, but I feel like you've got just such... The tone's been set with the first two movies that I feel this movie has all the chance in the world of delivering once again. And just where I am at right now and my own struggles with mental health, this is what I need. Just a wonderful, beautiful, positive movie. And so that's why Paddington in Peru is my number 10 most anticipated movie. My number 9 movie is The Bride, because I love marriage. No, the reason that it's my number 9 movie is this is a different take on The Bride of Frankenstein. And The Bride of Frankenstein is one of the true classic horror movies of all time. Considered one of the best, maybe the best Universal monster movie ever. And so I am really excited to see The Bride. Maggie Gyllenhaal direct and wrote this picture based, of course, off of Mary Shelley's, or at least Mary Shelley's influence of the original Frankenstein story. And so I'm really interested in this one. It's not going to be... It's going to be set in the 1930s, so not set as far back as sort of the original Frankenstein story is, or what the original movie was set in that time period. But it's obviously still going to be a period piece. And looking at this, it's labeled also musical is in the description. Romance, sci-fi, horror, drama. I get that, but I didn't know that there was going to be a musical element to it. So that really excites me too, because also I'm a big fan of musicals. So I'd love to see how all these genres are going to be blended. I'm interested to see what Maggie Gyllenhaal is going to deliver. But like, this cast is one of the reasons to be excited. Her brother, Jake Gyllenhaal, is in this picture. Christian Bale is in this picture. Jessie Buckley is in this picture, and she is playing the bride. And she's been in a few movies in recent years that I've been really interested in, including I'm Thinking of Ending Things, a movie I felt very highly of. You've also got Penelope Cruz, Julian Hough, Annette Bening. And so this is a pretty solid cast with an iconic story, and I'm interested in what her take is. Now, this is the Frankenstein picture I put, because one of the things that I wanted to say before I went into this list is I am only putting movies that already have an established release date on my most anticipated. Because I feel like every time you do an anticipated, there's always like one or two movies that get pushed and then end up not coming out that year. And so I did not put the Guillermo del Toro picture on my most anticipated. He is doing a new take on Frankenstein 2, which excites me very much, but it's not on my list because there is not a release date for that one yet. And so I mean, I believe apparently it is near completion, but in my eyes, until you have a release date, I kind of want to stay away from it, just because it's a downside. It's a bummer to anticipate something and then it's the next year and then you got to put on your list for the next year. But obviously, the Guillermo del Toro movie I'm very interested in, because it's also got an exciting cast. Oscar Isaac, Mia Goth. I believe it might be coming to Netflix this year, so definitely one to keep your eye on. But the one that made my list is The Bride, and it is based off The Bride of Frankenstein, just a different take, set in 1930s Chicago, and I am very excited for that one. My next one, my number 8, is not a movie I thought was going to be on my list, but in the end, I decided Avatar Fire and Ash is probably one of the blockbusters I'm most excited to see because James Cameron always does something different. He's always very ambitious, and he always knows how to make a real visual, immersive experience on the big screen. And the previous Avatar Way of Water, I saw it in the theater with Everett, and we were just absolutely captivated. We were absolutely just taken in by the visual experience, the amazing use of 3D. And I thought the second one did some interesting things with sort of the water and making it look so realistic and make it feel like they're really under the water, and some interesting creatures and just a great big scale that they did with the second one, that there's a lot of reason to be excited for the third. They're not the most engaging stories in the world. They don't have the best character development, but these movies, they end up making my best of lists. They end up connecting with me because they truly are unique in what they do on a technical scale and on a visual scale. So for that reason, I'm excited to see what's the new thing that James Cameron has under his sleeve for Avatar Fire and Ice. It's not really the story as much I'm excited about, but the experience. So as an experience, it's something I'm excited for. And so that's why it's my number 8. My number 7 is the only superhero comic book movie that made my list, and it's Superman. I really don't care about this being the launching pad of the new DC Cinematic Universe. To be honest, in 2025, I'm done with cinematic universes. I mean, Marvel's, I feel the last few years have really lost their way, and I don't think we need a whole bunch of movies again that are interconnected and you have to see every one to know the bigger story. That's not what I'm interested in. Just give me a great standalone story, and if there's a few little sprinklings that tease future movies, sure, but let's focus on a great story. Why am I excited about Superman? Well, part of it is James Gunn. I love almost every movie James Gunn has done. And I think he is just, his ability to do great action and have great colorful visuals, and his ability to sort of mix drama with humor, and he really cares about his characters and how you connect with them. Those are the things that I want in a Superman movie. I wasn't a huge fan of Man of Steel. I did not like Zack Snyder's take on Superman. I like my Superman being more positive and optimistic and hopeful. I like the Boy Scout version of him. That's the Superman I remember when I collected comics. And so I think James Gunn's going to bring more of that. The trailer, when you saw Crypto, and you know Crypto's going to be in it, the Superman dog, okay, sign me up. That instantly it showed me, okay, this is a movie that's going to have a more playful tone. It's going to have a more lighthearted tone. It's going to be more about having some fun. Now, obviously, the trailer shows there is going to be drama, and it looks like the world is kind of rejecting him. And so clearly there is going to be those aspects, and that is fine. I mean, that you got to have that. You want the layers. You want a movie that has funny moments, dramatic moments, sad moments, happy moments. But this is a movie that seems to realize the importance of having a heart, and the Crypto thing, man, that sold me. But on top of that, Nicholas Hoult, I'm a huge fan of him, and I'm really excited to see what he will do with Lex Luthor. Isabella Mercedes, the last few years, has really proved to be a talented actor, and so I'm excited to see what she'll do. She's playing a character called Kendra Sanders. Rachel Brosnahan is being Lois Lane, and we'll see what David Corenswet does with Clark Kent and Superman, obviously. Frank Grillo is in this, and so Alan Tudyk, another person that I love. And so, yeah, Nathan Fillion, fellow Canadian, yeehaw. So I am looking forward to this Superman. It's a comic book movie I'm most excited to see. I think it's got the best chance of being the best of the superhero movies this year. And DCU needs a great movie. They need to get things back on track. And so I'm looking forward to seeing if this delivers. And I think it has potential to be one of the best movies of the summer. Now, my next one, it's another franchise. It's another series. And a few years ago, this would have been nowhere near my list because I lost all interest in this series. The last theatrical Predator, I did not like. Me and Scott disagreed on that. But number 6 is Predator Badlands. And the reason it made my list is Prey. If people who listen to this podcast, you know that Prey made my best of list the year it came out. I absolutely loved Prey. I thought it really revitalized Predator. I really thought it should have came to theater. It had great action sequences. It had just amazing the cinematography, and it showed the scope of the forest and the world that she was in and the battle that she had with the Predator. And I just thought it was an interesting take on the Predator because it was Predator battling First Nations before, or like, well, I guess there were colonizers or at least frontiersmen that were there, but it was the very early stages before North America truly had Europeans there. It was still land that very much had the First Nations people being prominent figures there. And so I love that take. I love the fact that this was the first time a Predator ever came to Earth. And so I thought that was it was a fresh take, and it was, to me, one of the best Predator movies. It's right up there with the first one, Prey and Predator. We did a versus episode, Predator versus Prey. I think at the end it was a tie, but I thought they're two great. I love the first Predator, and I thought Prey was almost as good as the original, and so it's now in the right hands. Dan Trachtenberg is doing this one again. I've liked almost every movie he's directed. He also did Cloverfield 10, and so he's done some really incredible pictures in the last few years. He knows how to do creature features. It's 10 Cloverfield Lane is what I should have said, not Cloverfield 10. There's only been 3 Cloverfield movies, but 10 Cloverfield Lane, I really enjoyed that movie. And like I said, I was a huge fan of Prey, and so I have all the confidence in the world that Dan Trachtenberg will deliver again. Ellie Fanning, a very, very talented performer, and so she's in the lead role. There isn't a lot of information on this movie. I don't know the plot at all. With it being called Badlands, my guess is, again, it's going to be a period piece. It's going to be set before the Schwarzenegger picture. That's my guess. And so I'm interested in what they're going to do this time. If there's any going to be connection through a line with Prey or any of the previous movies. But I really love Prey, and so I have all the confidence in the world that Badlands, Predator Badlands, is going to be something special. I love the original Predator. I can't say I love the Predator series because they don't all deliver, but I love creature features. I love these type of movies, and I have confidence this is going to be a great movie. So that's why it's my number 6. My number 5 is one I don't know tons about, but it is the people involved in it that make it exciting. And that is Mickey 17, a picture that was supposed to come out last year, but it got pushed to this year. Bong Joon-ho is the director. Bong Joon-ho is an incredible storyteller, an incredible director. He has given us some amazing movies. Of course, he gave us the Best Picture winner, Parasite, which I absolutely loved, and that was one of the best movies of its year, 2019. Snowpiercer was a movie that me and Scott heavily praised. He has delivered some fantastic pictures. Okja, another movie that we had great reviews for. The Host, which was a creature feature from many years ago. And so he has made some great stuff. This time he's going back to the world of sci-fi. And as far as I know, it's sort of about these clones. It's a Mickey 17. It might be like the 17th version of this Mickey. And how sort of it works in this colonized planet. And so, again, I don't know a lot of the plot, but I have all the confidence in the world of the director. From the trailers, I've loved the visuals. And then the lead role, the person who's playing the clones, Robert Pattinson. I didn't really say that very well. Let's say again, Robert Pattinson, who like Kristen Stewart, has gone way past the days of Twilight. Obviously, he was awesome Batman in the Batman movie, and he has been in some really good movies the last few years. Good times. He's proven to be a very exciting actor, an actor who is totally open to pushing himself and challenging himself. And so I'm excited to see what he will do in Mickey 17. I'm excited to see sort of a sci-fi movie that's not based off an established IP, a fresh new type of movie. I'm excited to see where that goes. Toni Collette's in this. Mark Ruffalo's in this. Stephen Yeun's in this. This is an exciting picture. I am all in on Mickey 17, and I'm always excited for an original story, coming from such talented people. So there you go. I can't wait to see Mickey 17. I really hope it ends up being the theater near me. This is one where there's a chance that it doesn't get a full wide release. Speaking of original ideas, that's also my number 4, Sinners. And I love a good creature feature. I'm all for a movie about scary vampires. But the reason I'm excited about this unique take on vampires is it's directed by Ryan Coogler. Not only is it directed by Ryan Coogler, but it's starring Michael B. Jordan. You put Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan together and you get hits. They were in Black Panther, where Michael B. Jordan was the villain. They did Fruitvale Station, which is just such a heartbreaking but incredibly directed, powerful drama. And of course, Creed, which made my best of list the year it came out. Black Panther made my best of list the year it came out. Creed made my best of list that year it came out. I mean, Creed was amazing. And Ryan Coogler made me interested in a Rocky movie again in a different take. This time, the son of Adonis Creed. And Michael B. Jordan was incredible in that. And so there's absolutely no reason not to think that this is going to be one of the best movies of the year when you've got the team of Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan again. They just collaborate amazing together. Michael B. Jordan does an incredible performance in every picture he's been with, and Ryan Coogler, every movie he's made, I have loved. And now he's doing what seems to be kind of a horror picture, maybe a horror thriller picture. I am excited to see what he does with the horror genre. I'm excited to see what he does with vampires. And the cast, Haley Steinfeld, who's someone who I constantly champion on this. I absolutely love her. I think she is one of the best actors going. She's in this, and she's going to be terrific, I'm sure. Delroy Lindo, a fantastic actor. It will be great to see him in this picture as well. Jack O'Connell, someone who's definitely rising and getting bigger parts. I'm excited to see what he'll do here. There is a lot of reasons to be excited for Sinners, and so that's why it is my number 4. And that now leads me to my number 3 picture, which is a kind of remake. The reason why I say a kind of remake is The Running Man from 1987, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, was obviously based off the Stephen King novel, but it was very different than the original novel, which he did under the pen name Richard Bachman. It was different because it was more about an average guy being stuck in this dystopian world, this dystopian game, and he was on the run through sort of the city. It was much more sort of bigger in scope, and again, it was him sort of just this average guy who is trying to survive, while the Arnold Schwarzenegger version is much more of an action picture. Big, huge Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't do a lot of actual running in The Running Man. He fights all his bad guys. He kills all his bad guys. And so it was a very different picture. And so I'm very interested in seeing an adaptation that is closer to the Stephen King novel, rather than something that is going to be a remake of the action picture. And so I'm interested to see that take. And the big, big reason to be excited is the director, Edgar Wright, who he has delivered on every single movie he has ever made. He has proven, even though he's largely considered a comedy director, he does several genres in every single movie. I mean, Scott Pilgrim versus the World is one of my favorite movies. It's an incredible picture. And it's got comedy. It's probably one of the best takes ever on a comic book movie. It's got these incredible, memorable visuals, but it also has great action. And Edgar Wright does an amazing job of juggling genres. And he is one of the most visual directors. He is incredible at incorporating action, not just for jokes, but for those action sequences. You think of the stuff he did with Simon Pegg, Shaun of the Dead, World's End, Hot Fuzz. All three of those, yes, they're comedies, but Hot Fuzz is also a great buddy cop action picture. World's End's got that sort of dystopian end-of-the-world invasion feel. Shaun of the Dead's got great horror elements. And then the last few years, Last Night in Solo, he delivered a horror movie. That's an incredible picture. With McKenna Grace and Anya Taylor-Joy in great roles. He gets great performances out of them. And then Baby Driver is a straight-up action picture, which he delivers on. And so he's proven to me that he can definitely do an action picture. He can definitely do a thriller. And he can create a great visual masterpiece. And Glenn Powell is one of the sort of big names in recent times. People have enjoyed him in recent pictures. Top Gun Maverick, Twisters. And I'm interested to see what he'll do in the lead role. His version of Ben Richards. I think he's going to be more of an everyman. I think it's going to be more of that thing being on the run. Coleman Domingo being given a big role in this. Katie O'Brien, who I praised earlier for Love Lies Bleeding. She gets a major role in this. Josh Brolin. Oh boy, but yes, it's Josh Brolin, who I've championed so many times on this show. I think he is incredible. It'll be great to see what he does. He's playing Killian, which means we get to see Brolin as a villain. I don't think he'll look like a Grimace on steroids. He'll probably be very different than Thanos, but I'm interested to see his take on Killian. Lee Pace, he's played villains before. He was in a Marvel movie. He's an interesting actor as well. William H. Macy, that's what it's telling me on IMDb. He's in this. So there's a lot of reasons to be excited about The Running Man. And it's this high on my list because I really think I have every expectation of this being high on my best of the year list. Because I love the source material. I love the director. I love the cast. I love a good, well-made dystopian sci-fi thriller. Running Man. Put on your calendars. I think it's going to be a great one. And we're now, as much as I say I love original movies, my last two pictures are sequels. But sequels to movies that I loved. One of the great Disney animated movies of the last decade was Zootopia. And I think that is one of the movies where they set up an interesting enough world where there's a lot more stories to tell. There's some movies where it ends and you're great and you're like, that doesn't really lead itself to a sequel. Zootopia does, because it ended with Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde becoming partners this time, both of them being in the police force and being respected. So there's crimes for them to solve. There's more of this world to explore. We've already established that there's all these different sectors in Zootopia. There's all these different cultures and different places to explore and a variety of different characters. And I'm sure there's so many more characters that they can add. And visually, it was just such a captivating picture. My hope is this one, unlike Moana 2, was not originally set to be a series, and now they're remaking it for a movie. I hope the plan was always for this to be a movie. I have high hopes. I have very high hopes for this, because the first Zootopia is a masterpiece, one of the best animated movies. Now, I said the same thing about Moana. I love the original Moana too. But I think this is going to be a good one. I think there's an interesting story here. They got a new case to crack. And I'm ready to follow my team for Zootopia 2. I think it's going to be one of the best animated movies. And like Inside Out 2, I have every intention that this one's going to be a great sequel that will make it on my best of list. I hope. And we end, not with an original movie. The guy who champions original movies. No, it's another sequel. But it's a sequel to one of my favorite, maybe my favorite action franchise of modern times, or at least tied. Because John Wick would challenge this one, but there is not a John Wick 5 coming, though there is Ballerina. Ballerina is coming this year. But no, this is Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. I think this is going to be the best movie of the summer. I think this is going to be an epic. They're calling it Final Reckoning, which even though Tom Cruise says he wants to make more Mission Impossibles, I feel this is going to be sort of a closing of recent story arcs. I think this is going to have the feeling of kind of being a finale. I think they are going to try to make this an epic, just in case. I feel there's going to be some finality to this one, just in case they don't make any more. I think they are going to really sort of make this feel like a big final chapter, and if they make more, then they can put in different arcs and stuff. But I think this is just going to have the feeling of a big, massive epic. Since Ghost Protocol, Mission Impossible have delivered basically the best action movies every single year that they've come out. This has just been such a near perfect series. I love the stunts. I love the epic scope. I love Tom Cruise in this. The cast is great. There's amazing action sequences. So much of it seems realistic. It's not just covered in CGI. There is a lot of reasons to feel this is going to be an unforgettable action picture. Christopher McQuarrie, he is an incredible director. He's great when he's with Tom Cruise. I think he will deliver here as a director. And it's just going to be fun to see the team together. And you've got, again, like a pretty solid cast here. Palm Clemente from Guardians of the Galaxy. I totally said her name wrong. She's in this one. I think she's playing a villain, so I'll be interested to see what she does there. Nick Offerman's in this one. Hopefully he's not doing Civil War. He's only in one scene. And it's always fun to see Ving Rhames again. Angela Bassett. Word on the street is she's in it. Word being IMDb again. But I love the Mission Impossible movies. I know a lot of people love the Fast and Furious. I just feel these ones just have so much more substance. So much more interesting action sequences. And this is another one that I am completely confident is going to be on my best of the year list at the end of the year and ranking high. I love a good blockbuster. I love a great action picture. Mission Impossible almost delivers. Now, of course, with me being this confident, making a list where I think a lot of these movies are going to be my favorite movies at the end of the year, there's potential that this is going to be a year where I get disappointed a lot. I have no idea if any of these movies are going to be great, but they're on my list because they have the best potential. And, I mean, there's probably movies that you thought should have been on this list, and either it's not on my list because it just missed it, or maybe it didn't make my list because the previous ones is a sequel to something that burned me, or maybe I'm just not that interested in it, or, like I said before, it doesn't have a release date yet, or I just don't know about it. There's going to be a lot of great festival movies that could be on my best of the year list at the end in 2025 that I don't know about it right now. But right now, that is my list. I will quickly go over them for your benefit. One more time. My number 10 is Paddington in Peru. Number 9, The Bride. Number 8, Avatar, Fire and Ash. 7, Superman. 6, Predator Badlands. 5, Mickey 17. 4, Sinners. 3, The Running Man. 2, Zootopia 2. And my most anticipated movie of the year, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Another thing I wanted to mention, I didn't because I forgot, was unlike many years, I didn't necessarily have that one movie that I was super, super excited about. Like, I am looking forward to Mission Impossible, but I'm thinking years of like Dune or Force Awakens, where my number one was something that I was just absolutely giddy about. This year, these are movies I'm really looking forward to, but I just don't feel there's that one movie that's really, really driving me. So it's a bit of a harder list to come up with. Part of that might be just my emotional state. Struggling with things, I don't get as excited about things as I used to. But I think also it's just there isn't sort of that big event feeling movie as maybe there has been other years. But I think it's going to be a good year. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to doing this podcast every single week and being able to review a whole slew of movies and really gain a good feel of what this year is going to be like. The movie breakdown is going to be a lot of fun this year. Beyond the Balcony, I'll also write reviews this year. And I just want to tell you, I appreciate all of you who have been listening to us for over a decade. I appreciate my readers who've been reading me since 2010. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your support, and I really hope I deliver great stuff for you this year. And I'll also try to be open and honest with this year. I think there's a lot of value in that. I feel we really need at this time in 2025 to build a community and to show compassion, show empathy, show understanding, show open-mindedness. And I hope I can display that on this show and in my writing and make this a place where people feel connected and that there's always a sense of positivity and love. And I do plan sometimes of sharing a bit, not just my creative journey, but about my mental health and about sort of coming to terms with being neurodivergent and what I've learned about that. I just hope this is a way to connect with you and a way for you to get to know me better. But it's also going to be a place where I discuss movies. I promise. I promise. Now, if you want to tell me what is your most anticipated movies of 2025, you can do that. You can do that at themoviebreakdown@gmail.com. We're still on X at the Movie Breakdown 1, or Twitter. I always call it Twitter. And then on Facebook, you can reach us at the Movie Breakdown. We have a Facebook page. And so all those places you can let me know what is your favorite or the movie you're most looking forward to in 2025. You guys will tell me what your favorite movie of 2024 was. I just would love some discussion. Let's build a community here in 2025. And how many times can I say 2025 in one podcast? Also, another way you can really help me is subscribe and rate us. You can find us on Spreaker, of course, and you can listen to us on the Spreaker app. That's the one that helps us the most, but you can also listen to us on Spotify, CastBox, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or basically almost anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. And subscribing and rating us, especially if you give us a 5-star review, really helps us in the algorithms where more people can see us and then we can grow. My hope this year is maybe looking at doing sort of a Substack connected Beyond the Balcony and to doing maybe a Patreon for the podcast and just really help it grow. And because that allows me to be able to focus more time on it. I don't have to do as much freelance work if I can actually make some money off this, and then I can create more entertaining things for you amazing people. Another way you can support me, please check out Beyond the Balcony. I have made the return of the media diary where I look at all the things that I have watched, played, listened to in a week. There's also a look at what were some of the most popular pieces on Beyond the Balcony and the most listened to episodes from last year. And as well, I have a reflection upon James the Giant Peach. And I talk about how proud I am of Everett. And there will be reviews and movie analysis, movie news analysis, inside my creative journey, all that type of stuff throughout the year on Beyond the Balcony, as well as promotion of work from other publications. This hopefully is a successful year. So please follow me there. Please follow me here. Once again, thank you so much. The plan is for this episode to go back to how we used to do things, which is Monday morning an episode drops on a weekly basis every Monday morning. So if the plans are executed properly, I'll be back here next Monday and there will be some reviews for you. I definitely will be reviewing the new Wallace and Gromit picture that has come out on Netflix. I just love Wallace and Gromit, so I'm looking forward to that one. I also have my eyes on Cameron Diaz's return to movies, back in action. And I also hope to get out to the theater and review Wolfman. So those should be the 3 to expect. And who knows what else I will toss in. This ended up being a lot longer than I expected. I'm one person and somehow I went over an hour. I talk too much. So you can also let me know how I need to shut up and be more concise when you review or when you email me. But that's all for this week. I'll see you next week when we get back to reviewing movies. Thank you so much. I am Christopher Spicer, and have a great week at the movies.